Hello, this little video is going to show you how to find the area of a triangle. Now, the point is with the right angle triangle is that it started life out as a rectangle. So if I just fill in the other half of this, can you see that if I shaded in this part of the rectangle, I shade that in red, I've now coloured in a half of the rectangle. So if I have some dimensions is just a posh word for the lengths of the sides. If I put some dimensions on here, so I say this is 8 centimetres and this length here is 3 centimetres, guess what? It's times tables in disguise again. The area of a rectangle is length times width. So the area of the full rectangle, A for area, is simply length times width, or in algebra, as you know, we don't use the times sign, so it's just LW. Well, that would be 8 times 3, which is 24 centimetres squared. But for the triangle, I only want half of that. So the area of the triangle is 24 over 2, which is 12 centimetres squared. So the area of the triangle is 12 centimetres squared because I do the base times the height divided by 2. 8 times 3 is 24, half of 24 is 12. So all you need to remember is the formula for the area of a rectangle is length times width. Here's another one. If I had a triangle that looked like this, I'm going to make it a right angle triangle because that's all this video is concerned with. Well, we'll do an isosceles one in a minute, but for now, just to get your idea around there, the idea that for the area of the triangle, always halve it. If that was 12 millimetres and this was 20 millimetres, to find the area of this rectangle, well, I know it used to be, to find the area of the triangle, I know it used to be a rectangle that's been cut in half. So if I remember that the length times width, which would be the base times the height divided by 2, that will give me the area of the triangle. That's where the formula comes from, because it's length times the width and then halved. So 20 times 12 divided by 2, the area of this triangle, get it right this time, is 20 times 12, so 2 12s are 24, so 240. Divided by 2, which is 120. Now the units for area are squared units. So the area of the triangle is 120 millimetres squared. I did say we'd look at an isosceles triangle. It's still a half, even though it doesn't look like it. I'll show you why. If you remember equivalent fractions, 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4, and that's going to be important when we consider the isosceles triangle like this one. If I know that the height of the triangle, I'm either given that or I have to work it out using Pythagoras, but if I know that this is 6 centimetres and the base here, this long side here, I'm going to call that 10 centimetres, well, the area of this triangle is still 30. 10 times 6 is 60, half of 60 is 30. But why? Because that doesn't look like a rectangle. It didn't start life out as a rectangle. However, if I continue that 6 and move it across from there to here, that's also 6. And I'm going to put a parallel line here at the end of the triangle, which is also 6. And I'm going to move that 10 all the way up, like that. Well, can you see that the whole red line is the rectangle? Make a rectangle. 10 times 6 is 60. Well, you're saying that's not half, because I've got, can you see this one? that red triangle here and that one, that makes there, and over here the same. That red one and that blank one make a rectangle. So I've got, out of the 4 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4 equal sections, 2 out of 4 are coloured in red. So when it's an isosceles triangle, the area of this, I'll get rid of all the rubbish around the sides. Get rid of that. You can see now, hopefully, 10 times 6 is 60. So the area is base times height divided by 2. So the area of the triangle is 30 centimetres squared. I'll do one more of each. I'll do a right angle triangle and I'll do an isosceles triangle, and then you can have a go at some yourself. Here's a triangle, right angle triangle. The height is 8 centimetres. That's 6 centimetres. What is the area? Well, the area is base times height divided by 2. That's the area. Well, 8 times 6, times tables in disguise, 8 6s are 48. So that becomes 48 divided by 2, which is 24 centimetres squared. Okay, I'll do an isosceles triangle and then you can have a go. Here's an isosceles triangle. And let's say the height is 9 and that there is 20 centimetres. Okay, what's the area of this? Well, the height, if it's on the outside like that, it still means you just parallel line across. It means that is 9. So the area is base times height divided by 2. Well, 20 times 9, times tables, 2 9s are 18, times 10 is 180, divided by 2, which is 90 centimetres squared. Okay, I'm going to do a couple for you to have a go at yourself, and so make sure you've got some scrap paper. Use a calculator if you want. If you're not that confident with your times tables, don't let that stop you in the way of actually answering the question. Here's a right angle triangle. Does it matter it's back to front? No. I could even do one upside down. People don't like upside down triangles, but you know what? They're just triangles the same. Let's call this, I don't know, let's have 12 centimetres, 9 centimetres and 15 centimetres. This one, have a go at this one, and I'm going to call this 5 centimetres, 12 centimetres and 13 centimetres. And then I'd like you to have a go at this isosceles triangle, which is 14 centimetres and 6 centimetres. That's 6 if my writing's not very clear there. Okay, pause the video and have a go. Right, well hopefully you've had a go at all 3 examples. I'll give you the answers. Don't forget the units, that's important. Now, when I gave you some examples before, I didn't put in the hypotenuse. The longest side is just called the hypotenuse. But it's important that you recognise which numbers you have to use. So for this one, hopefully, you did base times height divided by 2. Well, times tables, 9 times 12 is 90 plus 18, which is 108, divided by 2 is 54 centimetres squared. Now, if you didn't want to do 9 times 12, you know that you've got to halve it. So a quicker way of doing it would be to halve the 12, call it 6, 9 6s are 54. Perfectly legitimate to do that. Here, the numbers that I need to use are 5 and 12. Again, I don't want to do 12 5s are 60, so if I just halve it, because I know I'm going to have to halve it afterwards anyway, I only halve one of the sides. 6 times 5 is 30. Well, 12 times 5 is 60. Base times height divided by 2, which is 30 centimetres squared. So I didn't need the 13 really, not unless I was finding the perimeter. I hope you got both of those correct. Absolutely brilliant if you did. Let's have a look at this pesky little isosceles triangle. Well, it's the same thing I'm going to do. Base times height divided by 2. Again, I can halve one of these before I even start. So 14 divided by 2 is 7, which leaves me to just do 7 times 6, which is 42 centimetres squared. You could, of course, done 14 times 6, which is 60, and 4 sixes are 24, which is 84, and half of 84 is 42 centimetres squared. Well, there you are then. That's how to find the area of a triangle. I hope you got them right. Have another run through the video if you didn't, but remember, if you see a triangle, halve it. And I hope that helped. Bye bye.